Welcome to another Gear Talk. My name's Cody. You saw the thumbnail. You know what we're talking about today. It's Lizzie Carmine. Obviously, it's just going to be Lizzie Carmine. Nobody else. There's absolutely no one else that needs to be talked about. Not at all. Especially not debating who her father could possibly be. We definitely don't need to talk about that because I've made a video of every single one of those brothers. So I definitely have no words to say at all. Of course, I'm lying. We're probably going to talk a little bit more about D. Carmine in this video. I want to talk about D. I love D. I love talking about D. Carmine because he's the mystery in everything. I don't want to overshadow, Elizabeth Carmine's video. That's her full proper name, but everyone calls her Lizzie. I don't want to overshadow her video talking about just D. I've already made a video about D. I've already talked about the family for the Carmines in general. I'm talking about all the Carmines. I was going to end up talking about D again eventually. Obviously, I thought it would be a little later on because I didn't think that Lizzie would win the next poll. I was hoping she'd be last because she has a bit more mystery around her. But, I mean, this is just how the cards played out. So, at the very end of all this, I'll start talking about her connections to who her father could be and more of that kind of stuff. For right now, though, let's talk about Elizabeth Carmine, also known as Lizzie Carmine from Gears of War 5, or just Gears 5, depending on how you want to say it. So, talking about Elizabeth Carmine, I'm going to call her Lizzie for short. I'm calling her Elizabeth a lot more because that's her proper name, but a lot of people just call her Lizzie. I think everyone calls her Lizzie. I'm going to call her Lizzie too. I just wanted to get out of the way calling her by her full name. For instance, Clay is Clayton. Ben is Benjamin. They call him Ant, but it's Anthony. I want to get those out of the way. I want to call them by their shorter names if I can because it's easier. Also, Lizzie Carmine sounds better. So, talking about Lizzie Carmine. Lizzie Carmine, it's the first gear we ever get introduced to that is a Carmine that is also a female. Also, she has a different position than most of her other family that we've seen so far. We haven't gotten to Fredo yet, so that's a little different, and Gary's also a little different. So I'm kind of glad these three were the last three I had on the list for Lizzie, Gary, and Fredo, because they're like the miscellaneous group. I can talk about them differently. But Lizzie's the first one. Aside from Fredo and Gary, she is in the coalition. She is a cog. This will be the last Carmine I talk about that's in the cog. She's the first female Carmine, like I said, and she does something a little differently than the other Carmines. Most of the others we see are soldiers. We've seen them as soldier, pretty much working as frontline soldiers or veteran soldiers or newbies, something like that. This is different. She's actually a Minotaur driver, so she drives the vehicles. She's a vehicle tech by the look of her outfit and how she dresses. I would also like to assume that she's a bit of a mechanical whiz or a mech kind of person that works on mechanics. Not to the level of Baird, not to the level of anyone like that, but it's very obvious that she works with mechanics a bit. She drives and she's able to engineer her own vehicle and get it working if it breaks down. Lizzie also, by the look of it, is very experienced, especially by what she does in the very beginning of when she's introduced to the Snatcher, when she just crushes it into, it's either a statue or another vehicle. I can't remember off the top of my head. She walks out, carrying her gun, sticks a grenade onto the thing, keeps walking, and lets it just blow up. Props to her. I hate Snatchers. Because of Gears 4 Horde mode, it left a horrible stain on my memory where just they were the worst thing to fight in Horde, and I hated it so much. Everything else was just so much easier. But yeah, she just kills the thing. It's just dead when you first meet her, and it's just like, oh my god. We're not messing around here. I don't think you get her last name right away. I think it's just Lizzie you hear, or maybe they do say Carmine right away. But you can tell by the helmet, you can tell by the way she acts. You can already assume this is this game's Carmine. You can already assume who Lizzie is. And that's, it's funny because she pulls that because she's evacuating citizens out of Settlement 2, which is under a swarm attack. And you don't really see her that often in the act when she's introduced, which kind of sucks because Lizzie's a very capable character. She's very capable at what she does. It's been a while since we have had a capable gear on our hands that was a Carmine. Will was capable. Clay was capable. Gary in his own right was capable because he was trained by Oscar, who was a veteran former gear. But, Will ended up face-to-face with Rom, and he really couldn't show off that much on how capable of a veteran he was, Gary just got hit by pretty much just got one of the balls that drops that carries over a DB, just dropped on him and killed him right there. So we didn't get to see if Gary had any more abilities or what he could do or how trained he was. We also have Clay. He's still alive and everything, but we've had him since Gears 3. Granted, I love Clay, but he's been around a while, You can only have so much badass from one character before you start expecting something out of everyone else, Like I said, Fredo's a reporter. He ain't even capable at all. Anthony, he was still shaking up and learning his basics. Ben, it was his first day. Lizzie was the first time we were like, okay, some capable gears here. She's taking after her uncle's footsteps, which we learned later on. She is the niece of Clay, which, don't worry, we'll talk about D at the end. I want to talk about D. You know me, I'm a D fan all the way. We'll get some D in this soon. But first, let's continue on with Lizzie. Now, like I said, Lizzie isn't really seen that often, and she's only really in one act of the game, but it's still refreshing. So she helps out Delta. I was about to say Delta 1, but I just prefer to call them Delta. She helps out Delta in keeping them, safe, helping out with some cover fire, all that good stuff. When they come across her for the first time, they see her. Because she's already taken out a Snatcher at that point. She's already done her job as far as I'm concerned. But while everyone else from Delta and the main game are going around, and there's a truck out my window, sorry, we end up learning that, like, she's pretty much been going around the city grabbing evac. She's pretty much leading the evac convoy to get the civilians out inside of her Minotaur. I keep wanting to call them Centaurs, but it is a Minotaur she's driving. So she's trying to get everyone out of the city because that's her job right now. As a soldier, for what she does, it looks like she's a driver or possibly an engineer. She's got to get them out of there. She's working evac, Clay is working on also doing evac, but he's pretty much leading things, pretty much working head security. I believe he was for Settlement 2. And then you have Delta 1, who's pretty much trying to, like, take out the swarm and try to get the people out, but, like, focus on getting rid of the enemy and giving the civilians time to evacuate into the Minotaur so Lizzie can get him out. That's what we believe she's been doing the entire time behind the scenes while we follow the main characters. Later on, we see pretty much when everything's gone, like, calm, everything's quiet, and it's pretty much like, the calm before the storm. When we see that, Clay's okay, he's doing fine, he's getting a breather, he's making sure civilians are okay. One bag at a time for everyone who's getting out of the city. Lizzie comes up, oh, Uncle Clay, how you doing? We learn their relation, and it's like, oh my God, 2 Carmines in one screen for the first time ever. My God, my brain is blown. And I'm not talking about ghosts or anything from Easter eggs, and that technically happens afterwards. This is the first time we've had 2 Carmines on a screen together. Oh my God. That blew my mind. I don't count Marcus's dream, because they were both technically dead in there, but 2 living Carmines back to back. Jesus Christ. We see that. We learn, everything's okay. She did well, all that fun stuff. Fit hits the shan again, because this time the leeches are coming in, the heart leeches. So everything goes foobar. Everyone's running around, evacuating, hiding someplace. Delta's gone off to do their thing. And later on, she's called in again to go and get a pickup, pretty much. And pretty much that's when, like, the Swarmax are coming in, the heavy-duty soldiers, like, the real, like, we're all screwed situation. So, she's coming in to help out. A Swarmac ends up hitting his artillery, I believe it's the artillery, onto the side of her door, and that actually takes out the passenger side door. And she, at the time, you don't think it's a big deal. You do realize it's ominous because she's a Carmine too, but it's like, okay, we've lost the door. It's too warped. No one's going to get in or out of the thing. One of her convoy vehicles gets destroyed. Civilians start just making a run for it if they can. JD. Let's talk about her and JD for a moment, because this is something. So, her and JD, supposedly friends at a minimum. There's no romantic thing or anything. Everyone wants to see, the JD or Kate thing, or the Del and Kate, whatever, But they're friends. There's no romance or anything. They're just friends. They're soldiers. They're brothers and sisters in arms. JD decides he's going to use himself as a tracking beacon for the not quite properly working Hammer of Dawn. The same thing that charred the entire planet and killed 90% of the human population. Like, not 90. The Locust had a hand in doing that beforehand, but, like, charred the remainder of humankind except for Jacinto. And that's what ended up a byproduct where the stranded. That same thing, he's going to target himself as a beacon and have that thing follow him. So he can just start ducking and weaving past the swarm and the Swarmax to start destroying them. On paper, it's a plan. Then you realize JD is there, his dad's watching, Baird's the one who has to push the button, and it's kind of like, do I really want to put one of my best friend's children's life in harm right now? I don't even want to kill, because Baird and JD were friends too, and it's like, I don't really want to kill him. This thing isn't working. I don't feel right about any of this. I don't want to do this. But JD said, no, just do it. You know, one of JD's gut decisions that are always great ideas. It works for a few moments. It actually works. Then it backfires when the hammer just starts bringing itself back online. It's so faulty. It's shutting down the computer, like the computer access to it. And it starts destroying things left and right. And I believe it still is targeted on JD when it's coming back for him. And he's trying to get Lizzie out of her truck. He's trying to get her out of the Minotaur. And I kid you not, the beam's coming for him. He's trying to open the past door, which he sees has been blown in so badly. Clarissa brought it up too. She could have probably just taken the driver's side door out and just ran around. But by the time they finally realized this revelation, the hammer's too close. And the last thing you hear from her, she's screaming out Phoenix. The Minotaur is just destroyed. It just gets hit. JD's blown back. JD's still alive. Lizzie, that's the end of Lizzie. Lizzie's done for at that point. Which sucked because she was actually a really good character and she wasn't around that long. Kind of like Ty, but Ty was in the books and comics, so I can forgive Ty. And also Ty was around more than one act. But yeah, she's just gone. She's killed. The hammer takes her out. And people take it hard. Kate takes it hard. JD takes it the hardest though because he goes into a coma and wakes up and he's very by the book at that point. He's very legislative, maybe is the right word. He's very a proper cog soldier. He's trying to like do everything by the book. He's pretty much just emotionally not who he was anymore. It just killed him on the inside. Not only that, but civilians, his bad decision making, all that played a role into that. Yeah, but like, you know, we never got anything from Carmine how he felt about Lizzie, but I'm sure he didn't take that well. That was his niece. He didn't take his brother's well. Imagine how he's going to take his brother's daughter, how her death would be. That's got to hit him hard just as bad. You know, we never got a confrontation between him and JD either on how they both felt about the situation or everything that happened. So we never even got that. I would have loved to have seen what that was like. Because I can tell you right now, Clayton would have been pissed. He would have punched JD in the face and tried to kill him right there. That's just who he is. I don't see Clay just being like, accidents happen. Especially when JD made the decision and even Baird can't even stand to be around him now and then. So yeah, that was the end of Lizzie's life. We'll get a few more Lizzie facts before we go into some other conversation of her supposed father. Now, with Lizzie Carmine, like I said, she's the very first female cog that we ever meet. Not first female cog. Female cog, that's a Carmine, I should say. The first female Carmine. Like I said, very mechanically inclined by the look of how she's dressed, especially since you have like the overall one-piece kind of thing, you know, like the mechanic outfit, but she only wears it at half. She's normally got the pants hanging under. The pants are on normally, but she's got the top part off because she's got her armor on. She's got the normal cog helmet. She kind of like has the Juggernaut design, kind of. Like you'll see like the little like thing right here on her armor that like, because originally what that's for is it stops bullets from when you shoot to fly up and hit you under the chin and burn you. That's normally what they're for, but she's got one. I like that addition. It shows like not everyone's armor is specifically the same or anything. It's not like they're pumping out the same armor for everybody, or at least you're able to modify it if you need. We also see not only that, but her original concept art I really loved, because originally her helmet was to be a dual functioning helmet. So it would be a normal helmet with a welder's mask attached that you can slide down, and you'll have a welding mask over, so it would work as a helmet and a welding mask. I really love that design. I feel bad that they cut it though, because I would have loved to have seen that in story, because it looked amazing, you know, especially like if you do this and you can just bring it down, or she can just bring it up and she's got a normal helmet. But they said the reason they did it is because it was just like too much at that point, or it wouldn't get the Carmine feel, wouldn't pass, which they are right, but it would have been amazing to see, even making Lizzie her own single character that's not a Carmine and bring a different Carmine in. But I'm glad they did it. It does look nice still. Yeah, like I said, like she's pretty much like driving escort and doing all that. She's not like a soldier like the others. She is a soldier, but like, you know, in like the military and everything, it's not like every single person in the military is a soldier, you know? Some people are driving vehicles. Some people are working mechanic-wise behind the scenes on things. There are people who are working as doctors and everything. Like, I believe MDs are like the medical soldiers. So it was nice to see that there's like other soldiers we're doing other than just the front line we're following around or just DBs. I really enjoyed that. Okay. let's talk about her dad quick, because I wanted to end the video on this so Lizzie could have her own time to shine. And this is her video. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making it sound like let's get her out of the way. No. But this does need to be addressed because there's a lot of ideas floating around, which I agree with the majority of them. But this does need to be addressed since it was brought up. And this is the 4th time something involving D. Carmine has come up. And if you're wondering, the first time was the letter from Ben. The second time was the tattoo on Clay's arm with 2 of his brothers, but not 3. The third time was pretty much when the original trilogy finished and we were told that was it and we never saw D. And it was kind of like, well, what about him? You know, it wasn't brought up, but that's what the fandom brought up. And the 4th time we learned that Lizzie is Clay's niece. All right? So, I love talking about D as much as anybody because I've been throwing around that idea and pushing for it for a long time. Trust me, I've made a video about D. I've made the Carmine family videos. I have made many videos involving D. Carmine. So, do I think D. Carmine is Lizzie's dad? I do think that. I think Lizzie is his daughter. Now, that's what I think. Is that canonically the correct answer? Is canonically she, her, is she the daughter? That's the correct pronunciation. There we go. Sorry for all the English teachers. I destroyed some of that. Yes and no. We know it's not Clay's, so it's a 33% split between Anthony and Ben. And you're going to say Anthony and Ben are dead. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing. With Gears, it's been stated, characters do some dumbass stuff when they're younger. Take, for instance, Dom. Take a guess how old Dom was when he knocked up Maria for the first time. You want to guess first year in the COG? You want to guess before he entered the COG, like right before he did it, and that was his like going away present to her? Maybe he got frisky as a senior in high school. Maybe that's it. No, Dom was 16. Dom was 16 when he got Maria knocked up, and they were gonna have their first kid. He straight up screwed the pooch on that one, and that's for a Dom video altogether. That'll be a long one just to go over that situation. But yeah, so why do I bring that up? Ben and Anthony. Okay, they both died in 14 AE. It went up to 17 AE was the end of the war. That's when it ended. Now, how old is Lizzie? We don't know. I like to assume she's younger, hence why I believe D is the dad. But, let's say for all intents and purposes, she was like 28, 29, maybe even she just hit 30. Let's just assume, okay? Now, if that's the case, if you run the numbers, you run everything back, it is possible that she could have been Anthony or Benjamin's kids. It could have. It's a possibility. I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying it's a chance. Like I did with the Mira stuff. I never outright came out and said Mira is the grandmother of Kate. I never once did. I said I believe it, but I'm not going to say it until it's confirmed. The same thing for Lizzie and D. I'm going to do the same thing. I want it so bad, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's definitely going to be D. Carmine who's the dad. You know, I 99.99% believe it is, and I want to say it, but 0.01% says, hey, you're wrong. So, we just know it's not Clay's. That's where I'm going to leave it. I believe it's D's. I believe Gear 6, we have to get another Carmine because it's tradition. I believe Gear 6 will finally be when we see D. I originally believed maybe we'll never see him. Now I think there's a good chance. D. Carmine is a possibility, and I want that. Very, very badly, because it's been like 10 years now. We've been waiting on that. So, D. Carmine. You had a great daughter. I'm just sorry it didn't last long, and I can't wait to see you when you actually happen, my man. That's going to do it for Lizzie's video because, like I said, Lizzie does not have that much that comes up during any of this. She's in one act of the game, barely any of that act either. She's a very competent character, very, assertive, very abrasive might be the right word. It's also shown that she doesn't really think clearly when she's doing things like, instead of getting the civilians out, I think that would have been a smarter chance than let me go save the few soldiers we have in there. Granted, it was a heroic thing to do, but at the same time, you've got civilians at this point. The soldiers knew what they signed up for. Again, I don't think they would have died. They were main characters, but I mean, You should have thought that one through, Lizzie. You know your family history. You know your name. You should have thought that one through. I'm very certain Uncle Clay has told you about his brothers and your other uncles. I'm very certain. But yeah, Lizzie was a great character. I enjoyed her as much as she was there. Just, she wasn't there that much. So, thanks again for watching another Carmine talk video. I almost made it. It's been a lot of Carmine so far. I'm almost done, though. Like, comment, subscribe. We've got a store. We've got a Patreon. Feel free to visit all of those. I greatly appreciate it. Also, Facebook, too. I've been throwing that out a lot. I should get back to updating that Facebook. I really should. Thank you guys for watching so much. Have a great one.